Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 4th of March and I welcome you all at the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of Hindu newspaper along with the articles, the background as well as way forward. Now, let's start with the session and I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this entire session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube. Now, let's start with the first of all overview and here we can see that first article is talking about select central staff can opt for old pension scheme. We'll see the difference between new pension and old pension scheme. Okay. Then Sangma to form government in Meghalaya, Rio will lead Nagaland with BJP help. You are not required to go too much in these developments because they are political in nature and such things that which political parties forming government in which state are not asked in exam. Then further moving on, as rumors set off panic, Tamil Nadu government seeks to pacify migrants. So guys, there was a panic that Hindi speaking laborers, there was a panic that the laborers from Hindi speaking regions, they will be targeted. So this was something that happened. Okay, not needed to go too much in this detail, but guys, we can use this particular development as an example that how often regional divides, they create a kind of a regional divides, how they often create such kind of insecurities in the mind of the people who are hailing from the other region. So this is such example that can be taken up. Then further, Kerala girl on World Hearing Day poster. So Rizwana, who aspires to be an ENT surgeon, she has been showcased on WHO's World Hearing Day because she received a cochlear transplant when she was young. So that is the thing. Fine. However, no need to go too much in detail. Then will clear Okhla landfill by December CM. Fine. Then other political articles, etc. Tenders are there. No need to focus too much here. Then further guys, moving on in this particular direction, after that again regional issues, advertisements, they have been carried, so we will move directly from here. Okay, we will be moving directly and we come to editorial page. Now on editorial page, the first article, Nepal's coalition politics, a game of musical chairs. So guys, basically we have seen this thing that recently the election got concluded in Nepal and after that the coalition government and the political alliances, Nepali Congresses, Nepali Congress's prospects and other political parties. Okay, so this article is the political article talking about the internal politics, seat sharing, coalition government for forming issues in Nepal with respect to exam. Much academic substance has not been given in this particular article, so I will not suggest you to go too much in detail here. Then side article, picking the watchdog. Now this article talks about recent reforms that have been brought in the appointment of election commissioner and chief election commissioners. We'll see this article briefly. Then further moving down, clean tech is the next thing in rural India. We'll see this article with respect to the examination. Side article, creative formulas. So this article talks about that how India needs to find a middle ground. Now see this thing. If you remember from past 4 or 5 days, every day we are seeing one particular article that India is hosting the G20 finance ministers meet where the joint statement is not coming out. Why? Because in G20 we have West and US and even in G20 we have Russia and China. So there are difference of opinions. Why difference of opinion? Because of the Ukraine war that is going on. So because of the Ukraine war, there are so much of confrontations and India is also facing many challenges. So a middle ground is to be found for the war. That is all about, that is talked about here. Then further, ground zero report in Punjab, fear of the return of dark days. So how terror, insecurity, they have gripped the Punjab. So recent law and order issues that have come. So they are being reported from the ground zero. Ground zero means the people's stories will be reported from the ground zero. Now the article guys again not containing much of academic substance for your UPSC examination. So no need to go too much in detail because date by date developments have been tracked here. Such things are not asked. Then going again, democracy is under attack, opposition leaders being spied on, Rahul. So Mr. Rahul Gandhi has made a lecture in the University of Cambridge. So those excerpts are being given. No need to go and follow too much here. Then again, we have a lot of political articles here. Okay. Then here we have one article, Supreme Court eases norms for selection of consumer court president's members. We'll briefly see this particular article, what it is talking about. Attack on MG Narega is an undeclared war on rural people. So these are the political commentaries. Why? Because budget cut in MG Narega has been made this year. Around 60,000 crore rupees have been allocated to MG Narega, which is a reduction. Okay, then further moving on. After that, World Bank to lend $1 billion to support India's health sector. We'll see this particular article, the schemes that it is going to support and how this assistance can improve the state of health in India. Then side article, border issues should be kept in proper place, says China. Okay, so basically guys, understand this particular thing, that we know since 2020 disputes on LAC have occurred. Fine, on we have seen this thing that the China, it had tried to intrude, and even China was also responsible for inflicting violence in the Galwan Valley, and recently in Tawang sector also in Arunachal Pradesh there were the disputes. Now India always says this particular thing, that see, India always say this particular thing, that any bilateral talks, any negotiations will only be possible if we have resolved these differences, including the border differences. Now, China always says that no, economic bilateral relations are on a separate front and boundary issues are on a separate front. They should be discussed separately. They should not be mixed together. But why they can't be mixed together? Okay, obviously that is the national interest of India and India has to promote it. Okay, so basically the article is talking about border issues should be kept in proper place, says China. So China, now this is the discussion that had happened between external affairs minister and his Chinese counterpart. Okay, but again saying, you are not required to follow everyday statements, commentaries that are being made. You need to know the broader issues, because that is something that we need to know for examination. Then moving on, foreign ministers of Quad countries take aim at Russia, China. So quadrilateral security dialogue, fine, in which there are four countries, that is India, US, Japan and Australia. They have again and again countered China. Fine, they are taking the aim against Russia, particularly the China. Okay, so that is something. Now this is a very usual occurrence. Whenever the Quad foreign ministers or any meet will be there, always there will be such kind of a references against China and Russia. So nothing new, nothing unusual. Okay, so just here you need to read the headlines. Okay, then further moving on in this particular direction, US blames. Okay guys, is stream clear? Please tell me. Okay guys, is please tell me, is stream clear or not? Yes, can anybody confirm, is the stream clear? Guys, please confirm, is the stream clear or not? Okay, so I think that now stream is clear. First of all, okay, so now I hope that stream is clear. Okay, so we were taking the overview of newspaper. Okay, now again, let's see the things that I think got missed. So we have discussed till this particular article. Then moving on to next article. So here we see that one article, World Bank to lend $1 billion support to India's health sector. We will see this particular article. We'll also see that what are the schemes that will be covered. Then side article, border issues should be kept in proper place, says China. Now this particular article, guys, see this thing, that often we have seen that there are the confrontations that have been there between India and China, which have increased so much in past 3 years after 2020. There were Galwan Valley disputes that happened. After that, China many a number of times have tried to encroach upon Indian lands. Recently there was dispute in Tawang sector also. So because of these particular disputes, always India has insisted this particular thing, that you can't expect that trade will go on as nothing have happened. Okay, first of all, LAC disputes are needed to be resolved, only then the trade, bilateral talks, negotiations, everything can go. Okay, but China has a different viewpoint. China says this thing that no, trade, bilateral relations, okay, are separate issues, and boundary issues are separate. So LAC boundary issue needs to be discussed on a separate front, and economic relations will go separate. So therefore, often we find this particular thing that China says that border issue should be kept in proper place, that is separately they should be discussed. But India's position is different on that particular thing. Right now, guys, the Chinese foreign minister Qin Gang is visiting India and having talks with external affairs Minister of India, Mr. S. Jaishankar, and they are trying to see that how these border issues can be resolved. But there is nothing much important that has come in this particular article. Okay, so these are just the developments. However, if some MOU, if some kind of an agreement is signed, that is something we need to see. After that, guys, moving on, foreign ministers of Quad countries take aim at Russia, China. So Quad stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, and within Quad we have four countries, that is India, Australia, US, and Japan. And largely this particular grouping has been created against the China's rising hegemony in the into the Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific region. So many number of times the statements will be made against the China, and now as China, Russia are aligned, so Russia is also coming in between. Now understand this particular thing, that these are very common things that keep on going. You are not required to go too much in the detail, and you are not required to track every statement and counter statement that is being given. Okay, so I hope that you are able to understand. So such kind of things are needed to be just seen as a kind of an overview. Then Kuno Park unsuitable to host all 20 cheetahs. We'll see this particular article also. US blames Indian firm for cough syrup deaths in Gambia. Here there is one article, and second, Uzbekistan cough syrup deaths. So guys, in the last few months there are multiple instances have happened where Indian cough syrups were exported to other country, for example in Gambia and in Uzbekistan, and there the fatalities, mortalities have happened. People have died after consuming those cough syrups. So on this particular thing, US had blamed India, okay, and such kind of things are going on. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that you are not required to go and track that which pharmaceutical company manufactured that cough syrup, how many children or how many people have died, unfortunately, that is the thing. But you need to see this thing, that such things needed to be seen very seriously, because India, it happens to be the world's largest generic drug manufacturing nations. We are the pharmacy to the world, and if such kind of things will happen, it will bring bad name to India. Okay, better infrastructure has put remote villages on tourist map. Okay, so the villages on the remote regions, the villages in Uttarakhand, villages in Himachal Pradesh, okay, they are now coming onto the map because of the government's better connectivity, including the road, including the digital connectivity, etc. So this is the Prime Minister who had said that better infrastructure is responsible. Okay, then further moving on, India score 74.4 in World Bank Index on Working Women. We'll see this article. Then further moving on, Russia is trying to be helpful to bring India China closer, Lavrov. Okay, so guys, here we see this thing, that the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has visited India for the G20 foreign ministers meet, as well as for the Raisina dialogue, and they said this thing, that Russia is trying to bring China and India closer. They are trying to resolve the disputes between India and China. Nobel Peace Prize winner uh, Belataski jailed for 10 years in Belarus. Fine. So these are the issues that have been there. But guys, these are more or less evolutionary issues. Services activity hit 12-year high in February, PMI signal. Okay, again I have told you many number of times, guys, that in economy section, in world affairs, or in the international section, only those articles are important for our examination which will have an impact on India's interest, or which are some policy matters, okay, which have some academic undertone. Okay, fine. So you are not required to track every month's PMI, fine, February PMI, January PMI, because by the time you will write exam, these things will change. After that, we have the corporate trends, etc. here. Okay, and then we have the sports page. Okay, so this is overview of entire newspaper where I have tried to show you a glimpse of newspaper. And now let's discuss relevant articles one by one in detail. So guys, as usual in every class we start with a GS quotation. Okay, and this GS quotation can be used to complement our GS 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. Today we'll take quotation from Herbert Spencer. So Herbert Spencer says that the great aim of education is not knowledge but action. The great aim of education is not knowledge but action. Okay, so education, if it instills knowledge and if you don't take any action on the basis of that particular knowledge, then that education is hollow, that knowledge is purposeless, that knowledge is meaningless. So education equips you with knowledge, and the implementation of that particular knowledge, taking action on the basis of that particular knowledge, is the real purpose of education. So knowledge without action is meaningless. Knowledge without action is meaningless. So this is an idea that we can use in our GS paper number 2. We can use this idea in GS paper number 2 and essay. Okay. Now moving on guys, to the first article for today. Okay. So the first article we have taken from page 1. Select central staff can opt for old pension schemes. Okay, now the difference between old pension scheme, new pension scheme, such kind of things can be asked in our economy related section in prelims examination. Okay, so let's discuss about what is this old pension scheme versus new pension scheme. Okay, now first of all guys, understanding the difference between the old pension scheme and the new pension scheme. Okay, so when we talk about the pension schemes, these are the two categories of pension schemes that are available to government employees in India. Old pension scheme were given to government employees who enrolled in the government services before 2004, and the government employees who have enrolled in the services after 2004, they were given the new pension scheme. Now, many of the state governments in the past have said that they are revising and they are moving from new pension scheme to the old pension scheme. And many of the government employees have also demanded in the past that they want to move from new pension to old pension scheme. So first of all, let's see what is difference between these two types of schemes. Okay, so first of all, when we talk about guys, the old pension scheme, okay, it was available to the government employees until 2004, and under this particular scheme, government employees were eligible to get the pension on the basis of two factors. Factor number one, the duration of their service, how many years they have served, and factor number two, the last salary that they have drawn. So 50% of the last salary was given to them as a pension. For example, if you have drawn the last salary of 50,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees will be given as the pension. Okay, and then there was also a very big difference that when we talk about the old pension scheme, in the old pension scheme, the entire contribution will be of governments. Employee don't need to pay any amount from their pocket. Okay, so here there is also this, in this particular article, there is also one very beautiful pictographic that have provided here. Okay, so this was a lifelong income post retirement. Okay, and in this particular scheme, the entire expenditure was borne by the government. Fine, employee don't need to pay here. But when we talk about the new pension scheme, okay, here the employee also need to bear a part of that burden. For example, the employee, let's take a hypothetical example, that employee will contribute 2000 rupees. Government will also contribute the matching amount, that is 2000 rupees. Government will also contribute. Then these total 4000 rupees will be invested, through the pension fund managers, and whatever amount will be generated throughout their service, then that particular amount, 60% of that particular amount, okay, can be withdrawn. 60% of the amount can be withdrawn, and this is tax free, and 40% is invested back in annuities. Annual payments are given. So from there, this new pension scheme comes. Now, the problem that is there into the new pension scheme is that the burden is being imposed on the employee also. Fine, employee also. But in old pension scheme, there was no burden on the employee, and the last drawn salaries 50% was given. So many of the employees say that this old pension scheme is better for them. Okay, so this is something that has been there. And even this particular issue has been taken in Supreme Court as well. Okay, now what has happened? Now what has happened? The government is providing that, okay, we can give the option to some of the employees that they can go back and join the old pension scheme. So some of the employees are being given that particular option. For example, which employees have this particular option that they can go and join the old pension scheme? So the employees who have applied for the jobs advertised before December 22, 2003. So if the job was advertised before December 22, 2003 and they have applied that, then they can join the old pension scheme. Secondly, uh, Secondly, it is applicable to the Central Armed Police Forces personnel, etc. Now, one thing I want to tell you, guys, this information is not that much important. Why? Because you are not required to go and see. This is the hairline policy matters. Okay, so you are not required. The question will not be asked that, okay, who have been allowed, who have not been allowed. Just you need to understand the difference between this old pension and a new pension scheme that has been there. Okay, so you can see, you can understand this particular thing. I hope, guys, that it is clear for you. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, first of all, please tell me, is it clear or not? Yes, guys, please tell me, it is clear or not? Now, the next article, World Bank to lend $1 billion to support India's health sector. Now, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to health. GS paper number 2, issues related to health. Now, understand this particular, basically, guys, we have seen that since 2020, there has been the COVID-19 pandemic that had wreaked havoc on entire world. And since 2020, health infrastructure of the countries have come under critical scrutiny. It has been provided that the countries need to have sufficient of health infrastructure because there can be future pandemics as well. Okay, so in this particular capacity, World Bank is now providing the loan of $1 billion to India so that India can support and India can upgrade their health infrastructure. Now, we will try to understand that what is the proposition by World Bank that is being given. So in total, $1 billion loan is being given so that India can be prepared to deal with the future pandemics and to invest in its health infrastructure. Now, this $1 billion loan will be divided in two parts, $5 million and other $5 million. So, it will be divided in two parts, that is $5 million and other $500 million. Now, this particular scheme will try to support the flagship Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, PM Abhim. It will support PM Abhim, that is the Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Now, this particular scheme was launched in 2021 and the focus of this particular scheme is to provide basic infrastructure in hospitals or in the health facilities. Now, many of the health facilities, they don't have functional ICUs, they don't have basic operation theaters. Okay, so to provide that basic infrastructure, this PM Abhin scheme was launched, and this $500 million or this particular grant will focus on this particular scheme. Then at the same time, some states will also be given special priority. So 7 states have been selected where special focus will be given in terms of funding, and these 7 states are Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Meghalaya, Odisha, Punjab, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so this is the place where the money will be going on. Then, as I have told you that this entire $1 billion funding will be divided in two parts. So, the part number 1, this will be called as Public Health System for Pandemic Preparedness Program. Again, we'll repeat, Public Health System for Pandemic Preparedness Program. Now, this particular $500 will be used to prepare India's surveillance system to detect any pandemic if it is emerging, okay, as well as to report the epidemics of potential international concern. Now, when we talk about the COVID-19 pandemic, often China is blamed that China came to know about the COVID-19 in 2019, but they did not report it. At that point of a time, it was epidemic, but it could have translated into the epidemic of international concern. They did not report it. So, India should be able to detect and should be able to report the epidemics, and before that, they have to have a surveillance system for all these things. So, This $500 million will be going for public health system for pandemic preparedness program. Then the other $500 million, they will be going to for enhanced health services delivery program. Enhanced health services delivery program, and this enhanced health services delivery program will try to strengthen the basic infrastructure. For example, primary health, it will be here, the government's effort to strengthen service delivery through redesigned primary healthcare model will be focused upon. Now, primary healthcare facilities are the facilities where people can reach to get treated for the common communicable diseases. Even sometimes they are equipped to detect the non-communicable diseases also. So this is the first. This is the first point of contact. So primary healthcare model, fine. They will be designed. Improved household access to primary healthcare facilities, stronger links between household and primary care facilities. So primary care facilities will be strengthened, link between household and primary healthcare facilities will be strengthened. All these particular things will be taken up. Okay, fine. Now this particular money is not coming as a grant. Understand this thing. Grant are not to be paid back. Loan is to be paid back. So this money is not coming as a grant. This money is coming as a loan. Okay, so it have a maturity of this many years, but not that much important for the examination. Okay, and actually India's performance on health indicators have improved. So India had a life expectancy of around 58 years in 1990. It has increased to 69.8 years in 2020. Okay, so health life expectancy is increasing. Now much more such interventions can improve the state of health in India. So this is guys all about this particular article. Okay, Satvik Sharma, please explain, please ask what is not clear there. Okay, fine. So that is all about this particular article. Then the next article, India scores 74.4 in World Bank Index on working women. Okay, now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS1 and GS paper number 2, issues related to women. Issues related to women society. Okay, now let's take this particular article. Okay, so basically guys, see this thing, that where you can use this particular article. This particular report's reference can be used when we talk about that women often has to face many barriers. Meaningful participation of women is often obstructed because often the laws don't provide a level playing field, or often institutional discrimination women has to face. So when we talk about that women have certain barriers, so there we can use the reference of this particular report. So first of all, what has happened? So here we see this thing, that the World Bank's Women, Business and the Law 2023 report has been released. World Bank's Women, Business and Law 2023 report has been released, and in this particular report 190 countries have been surveyed. 190 countries have been surveyed. And if a country is getting a score of 100, that is called as a perfect score. Perfect score means that there is no barrier to the working women. Okay, and if the score is less, for example 90, it means that there is some barrier, and if the score is less, it means that women are not given the equal opportunities. Now 13 countries, okay, they have got a perfect score, mostly the European countries. But when we talk about India, India's score out of 100 is 74.4. 74.4. It means that in India there are some barriers that women are facing while they are working. Now, what are the barriers that the women are facing? So it has been said that there are the laws which affect the Indian working women's pay. There are the laws which affect the working women's pension, and do not provide for equality with the Indian men. Okay, now guys, if you remember, few days back there was this particular issue that was too much into the news, that is pension for the women officers in the armed forces. Okay, and there are many other issues also, where in terms of pension, in terms of the salary that they are getting, okay, the women face a kind of a discrimination. Because of that, India's score is 74.4 out of 100. But at the same time, India has scored better India has scored better than South Asian region. South Asian region's average is around 63.7, but India is 74.4. So India has performed better than the South Asian region, but at the same time, the performance of Nepal, our neighbor, is better than India. Their score is around 80. Okay, so this is all about it. Fine. Fine. So just you can use the reference of the World Bank's Women, Business and Law 2023 report in our answers when we are talking about these particular kind of issues. Okay, so that is all. And now moving to next article. Okay. Sir, I am Niranjan, a regular viewer of your channel. Prelims of OPSC will be held on September 23, from which month we have to focus on current affairs section. Dear, understand this thing. Uh, Fine, many of you might be preparing for the other PCS exams also. So, around 1 year is the 1 year or 14 months, fine, is the time that is assumed to be safe till which you need to cover the prelims section. Okay. Sonam asks, sir, how to download the Hindu free? So Sonam, first of all, I don't have an answer as how to download the Hindu for free. And secondly, I will request all of you who are watching this particular video that guys, please don't uh, see the Hindu or the Indian Express or all the paper. This is the journalist. They are spending a lot of resource. They are spending a lot of their effort in that. So please, now it is the thing that you have to pay to keep journalism free. So please pay for quality journalism. Don't look for the free newspapers and all such kind of things. It is an investment that you are doing in your education. And if you take 1 year's free 1 year's entire subscription, it costs around 12, 13, 1400 rupees, I think. So around 100 rupees, 110 rupees for a month, less than what you are spending on your tea and your snacks. So please pay for the newspapers, whatever you are getting. Okay. Kuno Park, Kuno Park unsustainable to host all 20 cheetahs, not enough prey, says scientist. Okay, now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3, environment, ecology, conservation, as well as this particular article will also see for the prelims examination because cheetah relocation has happened in India, which is a very big thing. Okay, now first of all, let's talk about the basic things and then we'll go in this particular article. So guys, since 1950s, cheetah has become extinct in India and now cheetahs are being relocated back to India. Now, in India, we used to have Asiatic cheetah. Right now, Asiatic cheetahs are there in Iran and we have tried to translocate Asiatic cheetah from Iran to India. Okay, we have tried to translocate it from Iran to India. But there is this particular issue that has happened that Iran refused because Iran also wanted the it wanted the Asiatic tigers. Fine. So we were not able to do it from Iran. Then we moved to Africa. And from Africa, we have brought the cheetahs from Namibia and South Africa. The first batch of cheetahs were brought from Namibia, where 8 cheetahs were brought and then 12 cheetahs were brought from South Africa. So between September 22 to February 23, in total 20 cheetahs have been brought in India as a part of the cheetah reintroduction plan. But there is an issue that is coming on is that many of the environmentalists they are saying this thing that prey base, for example, Cheetal. Okay, so prey base is very much limited. And if the prey base is limited, then survival of the cheetahs will be threatened. So there are the requests that are being made. It has been said that now the cheetahs are needed to be transported from from the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh to other sites. For example, it has been provided that Rajasthan government has offered that the cheetahs can be translocated to Mukundra Tiger Reserve. Mukundra Tiger Reserve. Okay, but it is being provided that because of the political issues, that deal is not going through. Moreover, Ganga Sagar, Nora Dehi Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, there also the cheetahs can be invested, but there are to be some investments that are to be done for at least 1 year so that they can be viable. But Mukundra can immediately accommodate cheetahs. So prey base of cheetah is very much small. It is very much less in the Kuno National Park. So either their translocation is to be done or some alternative strategy is to be found out in this particular direction. Okay, so that is all guys which has been provided. Now when we talk about cheetahs, are being introduced and it will help in restoring the open forest grassland ecosystems in India. Okay, moving on in this particular dimension. Moving in this particular dimension guys to the next article. Picking the watchdog. Picking the watchdog. Okay, now this particular article guys will see with respect to GS paper number 2. This article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, electoral reforms. Electoral reforms. And in fact guys, yesterday also we have seen this particular article. Okay, yesterday also we have seen this particular article. So basically what has happened now, we have seen that there is a very big reform in appointment process of election commissioner and chief election commissioner that has been introduced. Now understand this particular thing guys, understand this particular thing, that uh, when we talk about Election Commission of India, Election Commission of India happens to be one of the most important or one of the most important constitutional office in India, because any democracy in order to be functional and viable have to have free, fair and transparent elections, and free, fair and transparent elections are ensured by the Election Commission of India. Now when we talk about the Election Commission of India, the members of Election Commission of India, that is the election commissioner and chief election commissioner, they need to be independent, they need to be honest, they need to be people of integrity, and most importantly they need to be politically neutral, so that they help in facilitating the fair elections. But when we talk about the appointment process of election commissioner and chief election commissioner, right now the appointment process is this, that they will be appointed by the President of India. Now we know this thing, that President can act on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. So in a way, the ruling government is appointing the election commissioner and chief election commissioner. Now by this particular thing, there might be a possibility that the people who are politically inclined towards the ruling government, they can be appointed as the election commissioner and chief election commissioner, and then it raises the question on independence of election commission. Okay, so for this particular thing, what has happened, for this particular thing, there was the petition that was filed in Supreme Court. Okay, and there was the request that was made that rather than giving this entire power in hands of the president, there needs to be a panel, there needs to be a panel, there needs to be a body which is responsible. Is it clear? Sir, what about state election commissioners? State election commissioners are largely responsible for panchayat and ULB elections. Okay, so right now on that front, it has not been, such thing has not come on there. So there was a request that a panel or a committee fine should be formed. Okay, now in this particular direction guys, now what has happened, Supreme Court, now what has happened, the Supreme Court has directed, Supreme Court has directed that the chief election commissioner, that the chief election commissioner, election commissioners, they will be appointed by the president, they will be appointed by the president, but the president has to make the appointment on the basis of an advice of a panel, and this panel will have number one, prime minister, number two, leader of opposition will be there, or leader of opposition will be there in the Lok Sabha. Okay, or if the recognized leader of opposition is not there in the Lok Sabha, because to be the recognized leader of opposition, your party needs to have at least 10% of the seats. So if there is no recognized leader of opposition, then leader of single largest party in opposition, second, okay, or and third, Chief Justice of India. So these three people, that is Prime Minister, LOP, or the leader of single party in opposition, and Chief Justice of India, these three people will make a panel, and this panel will recommend the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. Now the Supreme Court has said this particular thing, that independence, neutrality and honesty is very important, and such a thing will be ensured by this particular kind of reform. Is it clear or not? Moreover, by this particular thing, we have seen that appointment process of chief election commissioner and appointment process of election commissioner has been brought on par with the CBI director. Okay. Moreover, Supreme Court here also has provided this particular thing, that apart from that, in removal process also we need to work. So right now, when we talk about the removal process, Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. So Chief Election Commissioner's removal can happen in the manner of a Supreme Court judge. So there is a impeachment like process by which the Supreme Court judge and Chief Election Commissioner can be removed. So just they cannot be removed just by a wish or just by fancies, they cannot be removed. But when we talk about the removal of Election Commissioner, for Election Commissioner's removal, it has been said that they can be removed on the recommendation of Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, so security of tenure with election commissioners is not there. Their removal is very easy. Okay, so for the removal also they are needed to be given a protection. That is an observation that is being made here. Okay, that is an observation that has been made here. Okay, moreover, here it has also been provided that a permanent secretariat should also be provided to the election commission so that resources can be provided. So basically, it has been provided that this is a good kind of a thing. Fine, this is a good judgment which will try to bring independence of this particular body. But the point is that we need to ensure that implementation is proper. Fine. Moreover, often when we talk about the CBI director, now he is appointed by the collegium, but is CBI completely free? Often on its independence also the question marks have been raised. The point is implementation needs to be effective, implementation needs to be proper. Okay, so that is all about this article. Moving to the next article. Clean tech as the next big thing in rural India. Clean tech as the next big thing in rural India. We'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 3, environmental issue. Okay, environmental green growth. Moving on. Okay, moving on guys in this particular direction. Okay, clean tech as the next big thing in rural India. So GS paper number 3, environment, ecology, conservation. We'll see this particular article. Now, this article is largely talking about distributed renewable energy, DRE. Article is talking about distributed renewable energy, DRE. Now, what do we understand by DRE? Okay, so DRE stands for basically those technologies, distributed renewable energies, where the electricity is being generated from the renewable sources near the point of use. Now, generally what happens, for example, when the coal powered thermal power plant are there, they are generating electricity. They are generating electricity at the point X, and the electricity is being transmitted at the point Y through the transmission lines. Okay, this is the centralized electricity generation, where electricity is being generated at point X and it is being transported at point Y. Opposite of this is decentralized electricity generation, where the electricity will be generated at that point only where it has to be used. And renewable, decentralized, distributed or decentralized, both it is used at. Okay, DRE, renewable stands that the electricity will be generated from solar sources, solar power and all such kind of a thing. Now today guys, we see this particular thing, that many types of distributed renewable energy is being generated. Okay, here you see this particular thing, that solar refrigerators are being used today, which are being powered by the solar energy. Silk reeling machines for making the silk, they are being used. Okay, there are the biomass based cold storage. Fine, milk chillers are there, so they are biomass based, they are solar based, they are wind power based. So many such kind of technologies, many such kind of equipments are there which are being fed by the renewable energies. Okay, now these distributed renewable energy, it is transforming the women's livelihood at the grassroots level. They are transforming the women's livelihood at the grassroots level. Why? Because many of these facilities, they are being operated by the women, they are being run by the women, many of them are owned by the women. And as women are running these distributed renewable energy facilities, where these solar refrigerators, silk reeling machines, solar silk reeling machines, biomass based cold storage, solar based chillers are there, women are operating them, they are providing that service to the other people, and by that way women entrepreneurs are being created in rural areas. Okay, now we find this particular thing that recently CEEW, that is Council on Energy, Environment and Water, fine, they have released a study, and in this particular study they have said this particular thing, that out of the 13,000 early adopters of clean technology livelihood appliances, more than 80% of the women. Okay, so today there are the facilities in the rural areas where people are operating these cold storage plants, they are operating these chillers. Now see this thing, suppose there is a village, and in this village there are the 100 cattle owners. Now you know that the milk is a perishable product, it is to be refrigerated. Let's say there is a one woman who has made this solar chiller, and she is storing the milk of these 100 cattle owners. Now these 100 cattle owners are getting a service for which they will pay to this particular facility, to this woman entrepreneur. So the woman, she is getting a livelihood, she will employ other people, they will get a livelihood, and these people will be getting a service. So today there are so many of the people who are becoming the rural entrepreneurs. Okay, and out of the 13,000 early adopters of the technologies that we have discussed, 80% of them are women. Okay, so their own livelihood as well as the livelihood of other people who are associated, it is getting ensured. Now it is being provided that by 2030 it is expected that India will have 30 million women owned micro, small and medium enterprises, 30 million women owned MSMEs, and these MSMEs, okay, will employ 150 million people. Okay, and these distributed renewable energy livelihood technologies, they have a $50 billion market opportunity in India. They have 50 billion, a $50 billion market opportunity in India, and it can transform the lives of many such women, as I have shown you just in an example 1 minute back. Okay, now there are some of the steps that are needed to be taken by which this particular initiative can be, there are certain steps that are to be taken by which this particular initiative can be made more effective. What steps we need to take? Number one, we first of all we need to leverage the experience of early women adopters. Okay, now see, some of the women who have adopted these technologies and who have got benefited by those technologies, they needed to be promoted so that the other women, they get to know about them, they get motivated by seeing the example of such kind of an entrepreneurs. Okay, now see this thing, that these technologies, they are very new, fine, so there is an element of novelty, there is very high starting price when these technologies are to be deployed. They are very expensive, costly technologies, they are new technologies. So therefore, they are often considered as a high risk purchase, and therefore many times women are not very much motivated to come forward. So here, the technology providers must leverage the early users, the women who have used that, they come forward and they tell their experience that how they got benefited. So by this particular thing, many new potential customer can be brought in. So Kisan Dharmveer, fine, is using an energy efficient food process. He's an energy efficient food processor manufacturer. Okay, and is using these technologies, these DRE technologies, and is processing the fruits to produce fruit squashes, jams. Fine. So he is being she is being promoted as a demo champion. She is being promoted as a demo champion. Demo champion means that the person who adopted such technology and now they got benefit out of that technology and now they are being promoted. Okay, then second is that organize hyper local events and demo. Hyper local events and demo. Now see, some company has made the solar powered freezer, solar powered milk chiller. Now they are expensive, people want to touch them, people want to feel them, people wanted to see that this technology in working in real condition. So therefore there needs to be such hyper local events and demos that should be organized where people can understand these technologies. Okay, these events can also turn as spaces for women where they can network, they can bond with the people, like minded people. Fine. So this is something, it needs to be provided. And third focus should be given is to enable easy financing to purchase these particular machineries. So easy financing is also to be provided to them. Okay, fine. And here we see this thing that Samunnati Finance, okay, where 80% of the first loan default guarantee has been provided. Okay, so collateral guarantee, loan guarantee, default guarantee loans are to be provided to the women. Okay, so let's revise what should be focused. Number one, we need to promote the people who have early adopted so that they instill confidence in other. Secondly, hyperlocal events where people, women can actually come and can know these technologies. Easy financing facilities is to be provided. Fourthly, provide the backward and forward market linkages. Backward and forward market linkages. For example, what is a backward linkage? Suppose I deployed a milk chilling facility. I deployed a milk chilling facility. Backward linkage is that I need to, let's say, collect the milk from the market. Okay, I need to collect the milk from the cattle owners. That is a backward market linkage. Forward market linkage is that I will make certain product out of that particular milk and will supply those particular product to the end consumer. This is a forward market link. So backward market link and forward market linkages are to be provided. Okay, and here there is a case study that is being provided. The case study of Resham Sutra. Fine, a manufacturer of the solar silk reeling machines. They are partnering with the local procurement organization. Okay, they're establishing cocoon banks and they are training the women reelers in Chhattisgarh, and they are also training the women that how they can market the products. Then enable the policy convergence. So basically, different ministries, different government departments which are trying to empower women, which are trying to provide livelihood to the women which are working in this particular space, they are to be converged together. So basically, it has been provided that there are multiple ministries, okay, which are trying to promote the livelihood for the women. There are the state rural livelihood missions, horticulture, agriculture departments of the state governments, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises is there, Ministry of Textiles. All of them are trying to promote the livelihood for the women. They should all come together and should focus that how this particular technology can be leveraged for women entrepreneurs. So this is all about this particular article, guys. I hope that you have understood it. Okay, let's take, if you have some of the doubt, sir, is reading only the Hindu is enough for 2024 exam? Guys, I say this thing often and I say this thing multiple number of times that please make your studies sustainable. You can't read 2-3 newspapers for entire year. Focus on one newspaper but read it every day. Okay, one more question I will address here which I get many number of times: do you need to read a newspaper after this session? Fine, we don't have one answer here, I have two answers. Answer number one is for those people who have very good comprehension skills, the people who don't have problem in understanding the simple English. They, if want, they might not read. But if you have problem in comprehension, if your reading skills are poor, okay, then I will advise you to read the newspaper. But you will not get much new substance because all the thing that is there in the article as well as background etc. I am covering anyhow. Okay, sir, in our state, Manipur, we use charcoal in industry and factory, especially for making bricks. So, sir, charcoal can be renewable or not? See, actually, when we talk about the basically renewable processes, we actually talk about the source of electricity. Okay, so source of electricity or source of power that is using, that is something that you use. You are talking about the raw material. Okay. Now, Supreme Court eases norms for selection of consumer court presidents members. Okay, so guys, just first of all, understand this thing. You are not required to go too much in detail. Okay, that how the election process of consumer court judges happened on all that kind of a thing. We need to focus more on Supreme Court and High Court judiciary. Fine, but here this is an example that can be used to show the judicial activism. Judicial activism. What is judicial activism? Judicial activism is a tendency of judiciary where judiciary try to step in the domain of executive and legislature and try to perform the role of executive and legislature. That is judicial activism. Now, what has happened? Supreme Court, by using Article 140, Supreme Court used Article 142. Article 142 provides that in order to do complete justice, Supreme Court can issue any order, can issue any degree. So what has happened? Supreme Court, by using its power under Article 142, has provided that in the consumer courts, the professional experience of 10 years will be required in place of 20 years. So, a consumer court judge needs to earlier have 20 years of professional experience. Now, if you have 10 years of professional experience, they can be appointed in the consumer court. So, this is something which is being done to attract the young talent. Moreover, court has also instructed that there will be the written exam and a viva was to check the candidate's performance. That is a kind of an interview, and a written exam will also be there. Now see this thing, Supreme Court provided this thing that consumer commissions, consumer courts, they have a power of a civil courts, and government already has proposed many amendments in the consumer courts appointment process. For example, consumer protection, qualification for appointment, method of recruitment, procedure of appointment. Now this is a very long name. Fine. These rules 2020, sorry, they have been proposed since 3 years, but these rules did not got passed. So till the time these rules are not passed, this stopgap arrangement has been brought by the Supreme Court. So this is an example of judicial activism that can be taken. This can also be called as a judicial overreach. Was it necessary that judiciary has to step in this particular matter? Because this matter is a legislative matter. Okay, so this is something that is there. Okay, now moving on guys, and here we have the mains practice question for today. The question reads, discuss how the renewable energy can unlock the potential of rural women and clean technologies simultaneously. So this will be a GS paper number 3, 10 marker question, and even this particular type of question can be asked in GS paper number 2 because of the women centric theme that's there. That is all guys about the session for the today, and with this we have come to an end to the today's session. Now guys, we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please guys, sorry, now we'll be meeting on Monday. Okay, so till then, please take care of yourselves, and guys, please do comment, please do subscribe to the channel, please do like the video if you have liked the session. Okay, so we'll meet on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.